Hello, everyone. Glad to see you back here at Silver Tears Tarot. Welcome to those of you who are joining us for the first time. So, today we're doing a reading for our soulmates in separation. And of course, like I always say, acknowledging that separation can take many forms. So, some of you haven't heard from their person in a couple of years. Some of you can see your person across the room, but it's barely like they're even there. So it's true. It can look different for different people. And I got a question from one of you recently. It's actually one that comes up a lot in the personal readings. And it was, why would my person do what they did? So usually after they ghost you or otherwise do something that makes you feel like you gifted them your heart and they dropped it on the floor right in front of you and then looked you right in the eye while they stepped on it. So everyone's story, admittedly, is a little bit different, but we're going to ask that question. Why would they do what they did? So, as always, it's going to be a general reading for all signs, and it won't resonate with everyone. But if it does, and you find that this is your story, please hit like and consider subscribing. You may want to check out some of the other videos because this has been one big connected series of readings. So, I'm trying to decide which one I'm going to read with and which one I'm going to I think I'm going to go ahead and read with this one. So, we're going to start here with the energetic backdrop between the two of you. And this is really like that current energy between you. What's going on between the two of you right now? Oh, we've got that sense of heartbreak. So, this is not new news to most of you, but we've got that feeling of heartbreak that's really just kind of rising up as the energy that's happening between the two of you right now. So it's a tough place to be. It's this is a tough place to be because it hurts you not just in the emotions, but also makes you do a lot of thinking that may or may not be super useful for you. So we're going to find out a little bit more when we clarify, but right now we can see the heartbreak in the energetic backdrop. And the thing is that even if it feels like it's a renewed sense of heartbreak. So even if things have been kind of mellowing out over the past few days, it feels like it's kind of ramped up again a little bit. So that's part of what's happening, but it's happening for both of you. So let's see. We're just going to ask the question, what would make your person do what they did? And we know that not everybody's story is exactly the same, but generally speaking, um, there are going to be a lot of you who would want that same question answered that this person was asking. So this person was ghosted, and I understand that not all of you were. Some of them are going to be some different circumstances, different sets of circumstances. Basically, they made a quick decision and ran with it. But it was not necessarily a particularly well thought out decision. This was a decision that was more around communication and contact. So this is like ghosting, but it's not that they thought about it for a long time. It's like they just bailed and decided to start running and didn't look back. So that's an interesting thing. Interesting thing because I keep seeing this or feeling like this in people's readings, and I'm like, well, it was just a very rash decision. But this shows that it was, in fact, just a rash decision. Definitely interested to learn a little bit more about this when we go in to clarify. So, we're going to see what sticks out the most about their view of the situation here. And so, this is going to be their view of you, their view of things that have happened with you, their view of the overall situation. And oh, it's that, wow. So, the Nine of Swords is a card of anxiety, but anxiety is not the word that wants to come out. Agony due to anxiety is what wants to come out. So this person has wrapped their mind around, like they've wrapped their mind around itself and gotten tangled up in themselves, just trying to understand what is even happening in their mind, what is happening in their heart. What's been happening in their heart feels like something very shocking and scary, or mostly just something they're not super familiar with. And I know for a lot of you in the previous readings, we've seen that they weren't prepared for the emotions that they were going to experience with you. They thought this was going to be something else, but they made this snap decision to kind of a capricious decision to just kind of jump. and move on. And it didn't really allow them to move on. So now they're living in this heartbreak feeling with you a little bit. So let's see what a critical energy is that's acting upon them at this time. So it's not necessarily a crossing energy. It's just something that's happening that's impacting things pretty significantly. Doesn't have to come from within the union. It could come from someplace completely different. This could be something that's acting upon them very differently. But in this case, it's something that's acting on both of you, and it is energy moving quickly. So we definitely see a sense of energy moving quickly. We'll absolutely have to learn a little bit more about this when we get into clarify here, because this energy moving quickly, the one thing that I can tell about it before I get into clarify is that no one's comfortable with it moving like this. So it's not comfortable for either of you, but it's kind of not necessarily manifesting the same way for each of you. So for him, for them, and I'm thinking about this person who wrote in that was a woman dealing with a man, but I know not all of you are. In many cases, um, we've got all kinds of people on this channel, because it may not be you. Like all of most of you are divine feminine. Trying to figure out how to describe it, because most of you are playing the role of the divine feminine, and so most of you are dealing with a person who is playing the role of the divine masculine. But we also have a couple of those divine masculines who are also viewers of this channel, and so I'm like, how do I describe? Anyway, it's something that has it's a lot of energy that has both of you feeling a little bit uncomfortable. From your person's side, it feels a little bit more like something that they're not prepared to deal with, and they would rather continue running and not and just looking in the other direction. But this sense of anxiety has turned on them and won't let them. The heartbreak kind of won't let them. There's a heavy amount of Five of Cups included in this, that regretful sort of sense, I should have handled this differently. But for you, that quick energy is different. So it's almost like things are moving in slow motion, and yet this quick energy of the healing energy that's coming at you is in no way comfortable. So let's take a look in here at the hidden energies and just kind of understand what it is that you can't see from where you're standing, but that might help to clear up a misunderstanding between you and your person. Okay, and we got a couple of cards going everywhere here. So we've got the Chariot in reverse and the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. This is a very stop sort of feeling. So the Chariot is that impetus that comes from within a person, and it's it's energy that moves you forward, sometimes in a coherent direction, sometimes not so much, but it's definite movement. It's something where you aren't staying where you are. You're definitely finding a way to move and do something different. But in this hidden energy, it's like locking someone. It's your person locking themselves in place. We see that again with the Knight of Pentacles. So the Knight of Pentacles in the upright is a card of slow but steady, consistent, reliable movement. In the reverse, it can be less reliable movement, but in this case, it's really more a sense of something having stopped. So we have stopped from the inside and stopped being the effect of the action. So there is something about them that is locked up and cannot move forward. And I really feel it with this anxiety card here, the Nine of Swords card as well. That card was in what sticks out the most about their view of the situation, and they have just seen it as a huge pool of flooding anxiety, essentially, and it has put them in a situation where they have seized up or stopped, and they're not prepared to move. There's a lot of heartbreak associated with it, but they did bail, totally run the other direction emotionally. So let's keep looking. We're going to look to see what the best thing is for you to be doing about this situation at this time. What is the best thing that you can be doing about your situation at this time? Okay. And it's allowing yourself to feel. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know that I expected that to come out there. And I should know by now that there's no way I can ever expect what comes out here. But there is a sense of in the upright, this is a card of not being real impressed, not being interested, just sort of you see this cup is being proffered to this person who has no interest in it and is not excited about this. In the reverse, though, it is a sense of allowing yourself to be excited, allowing yourself to be excited specifically, though, about the things in this relationship that excited you. So the thing to note is that you may be allowing that excitement to be dulled because of the emotions surrounding the situation. And here you're being given the advice to allow yourself to feel, allow yourself to truly love and feel as much as you do in this situation. Don't cut it off because it's going to end up putting you in a situation not dissimilar to this, although you're going to be coming from a different angle. So let's jump in there with the clarifications. This got kind of deep on us in a hurry, but we did ask what was going to make your person do, or what made your person do what they had done. So we know it was a capricious decision on their part, one that I feel some regret for, and they're feeling some heartbreak right along with you. So let's get in there and do a little bit of clarifying. We've got the King of Acorns. That's the first one to come out, and that is fire energy. We've got more fire energy. Um, Interesting. Let's take a look at these. So we've got the fire energy of the King of Acorns and of the Three of Acorns. Three of Acorns is in the upright. So it's this feeling like I had it. I had it within my grasp. And then for some reason I let it go. I made this decision to run and I can't even stand behind it, but yet here I am. And this is the side that makes the decision or stands by idly and allows that decision to run. So they see themselves, and this is their regret speaking to me here. So I feel heartbreak for both of you and definitely in the energy between you. But these two cards feel so heavy on their side. It's kind of wild. So the Three of Acorns is all about realizing they had set things into motion. They were right there. They could have done what they wanted to do, what they now realize is what they wanted to do. And this King of Acorns is that energy that was slowing them down. Because in the upright, the King of Acorns is very positive, um, just optimistic, ready to move forward, do new things, full of energy. Nothing can stop him. Quite a great person to have in a situation where it's hard to get some traction to move forward. But here, this is actually somebody who will be overly controlling, who will do everything they can to shut down the positivity of the situation, and they can see themselves doing it and not even feel good about it. But yet, that is kind of the vibe that's happening here. So, this is a frustrating place for your person to be. Not just a sad place, but also a place of frustration because they realized they had you right there and they still made this decision. They allowed themselves to make this decision. And this decision was it was a snap decision to run in the other direction, essentially. For some of you, you haven't seen or talked to your person in a while, but then for some of you, you do have that option, but they have essentially broken with you in communications that are vulnerable and that have meaning. So let's look in a little bit deeper to see if we can understand more about that. We've got the Strength card and the Seven of Crystals. So crystals are earth energy. It's them making a decision not to invest. And this is a card we've been seeing a little bit more of here lately, but I feel like we have. Maybe it's just been heavy in the personal readings, but it's an option to invest that they have passed by. So we know that it's not an investment because it's in the reverse, but it's amazing because they knew they had the option when they let go of it. It took them courage to run away, but it would have taken them more courage to stand where they were and to figure out how to move forward. So this is an interesting place because it's not a very stable one. They did not make a decision that was based in a lot of thinking. This was more of a I'm just going to cut and run sort of decision. And it was in a moment of being able to actually create action for themselves because they also spent some time prior to making that cut and run decision in some discomfort that they just didn't know what to do about. And so they were kind of swimming around in it, flooding with emotion that they didn't want to take in. Um, their ability to control the situation looked a lot like, okay, I'm removing myself from it. And that strength comes in for them to have that moment. And then they start running. And then they realize now in order to clean things up, I'm going to have to put forth a lot more effort that right now I didn't know how to get away, and I certainly don't know how to come back. And it's there's a lot of anxiety. So they thought they were cutting some of that anxiety out by walking away and removing themselves from the situation. But what it looks like instead is that they have replaced one anxiety for another. Now it's anxiety tinged with heartbreak and regret. And they aren't sure what to do about it. So there's this sense of inevitability for them that just, this is, oops, wow, okay. We're taking that card as well. So I was even thinking about looking at the bottom of the deck, but most of the time I don't deal too much in the bottom of the deck. So I think that was a hint that maybe this time I needed to. This is the Eight of Crystals, which is like the Eight of Pentacles, and it's in reverse. This is the Star card, also in reverse. The Star card is talking about a delay, but also a need to find some peace. Um, it's not a very peaceful feeling. So in the upright, it is a card of hope and just kind of, it feels inevitable. It feels like the answer is going to come. But here in the reverse, it feels like I don't know exactly how this is going to happen. I feel like I've got to find my own closure, but can't figure out how to do it. And this is your person. You may be thinking of that as well, but that is what's coming off of this card with regard to your person. They're trying to figure out how to find that closure. Like the reading we did a few days ago, it was one of those pop up readings where someone had asked if their person thinks about them as often as they think about their person, and the answer was yes, but they really don't want to. And there was that feeling that they knew they hadn't invested. I know that one came up in that reading, just like we see it coming up here. But there was also this feeling of there's that inevitability that they can't seem to latch onto, they can't seem to grab onto, and yet they can't seem to walk away from. So this Eight of Crystals talks about that sort of emotional self-mastery that they feel like they never quite grasp. And it's a fun thing because when they think about it, they realize that in all the other areas of their lives, they're able to exert control, manage the situation. That so this is part of why they did it, because it's historically when they turn things over to what is essentially the egoic side of them, not egotistical, but egoic, the side that protects them and helps them figure out who they are from an identity perspective, or who helps them be who they are from an identity perspective, what the identity is that they potentially could hide in. This one loves to control the situation and to say, all right, you know what? I can't deal with what's happening here. So I'm going to take action. And that action in this case was to remove themselves. They did this because it has worked in the past. Unfortunately for them, it's not working now. The anxiety continues to plague them. They feel like that sense of inevitability, and they haven't figured out how to address it. So the farther and farther away they get from this rash decision, the harder it is for them to figure out how they're going to come back or come forward. And they lack this emotional self mastery that in the past they thought they had, but they also now realize they couldn't possibly gain it in time to be successful the way that they would like to be with you. So let's take a look at this Eight of Wands. I was curious about this one because this is a critical energy acting upon you at this time, but it's that fast moving energy that I feel like is, I thought I saw one turn over. It's a fast moving energy that it feels like it's happening differently on your side than it is on your person's side. And it's because your person is not ready to handle this much healing coming at them because it's too tumultuous. Um, and for you it may be also not being able to handle the healing, but being willing to jump in a whole different way, and it feels like part of it's moving in slow motion. Okay, so we've got the Ace of Crystals and the Six of Feathers in reverse to go along with our Eight of Wands. So this is the Six of Feathers is that tumultuous experience that should be bringing you across to something that's a little bit calmer. But with this fast moving energy of the healing and the way that it's coming at both of you, that's very difficult to accomplish. it caught you off guard to begin with, both of you off guard to begin with, and it's doing absolutely nothing to help quell things or calm things down. However, you've got this, what's coming out of this that's very possible is this door opening. This is the Ace of Crystals. It's like the Ace of Pentacles. It's very much a new beginning, but it's a slow moving new beginning that you can be sure of. So there is something coming from this that is incredibly positive and has everything to do with the way that you heal coming through this. So this is a place where you've constantly, and we've talked about this, you've constantly been put in a position to have to feel, to try to feel comfortable in a situation that is quite uncomfortable. Okay. And so having this door open even in the face of all this discomfort, continued discomfort, is an amazing thing. This is some good coming of it. So let's look at this hidden energy here. This hidden energy is, it's supposed to be what you can't see from where you're standing, but that would help you with something that is kind of a misunderstanding. And what we have here is kind of a double stop energy coming from your person. And this is the energy actually that they were in when the two of you got to know each other. There was a sense that they were moving against their better judgment, but they were also getting ahead of themselves so quickly that it's like they had their heart in a cage and it was escaping before they were having the opportunity um, to get it under control. And it's like they had to get themselves back under control and remove themselves from the situation. And of course, we have the 10 of shells that's come out here because we have that one, that, and the 8 and the 9 of shells, which is water energy. So it's cups. It's like seeing the 8 and 9, or the 8 and 10 of cups in all the rest of these readings. This person has not figured out what exactly they wanted, or they hadn't at the time the two of you came together, figured out exactly what they wanted. They were in the process of more or less closing off from the world in an emotional way, and then you come along looking like something too good to be true, and they didn't know how to handle it. So they haven't had the benefit of all these readings where we looked at the 10 of cups and realized that the 10 of cups is there to help you be discerning. It's not necessarily that if something is or isn't too good to be true, there's like this black and white reaction that you would have to it. It's a situation where then you get to decide, well, here's how I'm going to handle it, and there are nuances and there's a lot of gray area. You have the ability to slow things down, take that step back, and actually look at it. That's one of the lessons that we've received. And it's a lesson that happens on both sides. But your person was not to that lesson yet, because honestly, with the 8 of shells in reverse, that's an idea, or that's a feeling of aimlessly meandering toward the 9 of cups, which is the thing that really makes you happy. And so here, without knowing the direction that you truly need to go, you can't quest after it. You can't go find it, so that when you run into something that's feels like it might be too good to be true, and here it turns out it's not. That's the thing. When it turned out it was not too good to be true, they kind of freaked out, and that's part of what made them bail as well. So we're getting insight throughout the reading as to what made your person do what they did, but we are absolutely going to take that into an extended reading because we need to understand a little bit more about their overall feelings, because I can see the reactions, I can see why they did it, but it's not super clear to me. What the rest of the feelings around it. So we'll look a little bit more into that. And then I'd like to look into the nature of the relationship for you. And this is honestly the energy that makes me think that, because it's this relentless energy that just keeps pushing you toward one another. And we see it here, or your person's feeling it here, but it's this relentless energy that pushes you toward one another and yet makes it very difficult for you to find peace anywhere in that process, because the goal is to find peace during that, but it's not simple and it doesn't come with instructions. So we'll look a little bit at the nature of the relationship and just kind of understand what it is that maybe you would benefit from doing. And we'll start by asking that question here, because we had asked, what is the best thing for you to be doing at this time? And I think that's probably what we're going to look into a little bit more deeply as well. But let's see the clarifiers for this first. So this was a card that was suggesting for you to allow yourself to feel. Okay, so we've got the Five of Feathers in reverse. The Five of Feathers in reverse is like the Five of Swords in reverse. It's that air energy, and it is very much about not allowing yourself to be taken into battles that you don't need to fight. Okay, and we've got the Knight of Feathers, also more air energy, but this time in reverse. This is so it's a little bit of a warning, but it's not really a warning. It's more of a look for it within yourself. Look for a tendency within yourself to, I'm not going to say ghost out, not bail. You're not necessarily that person, and I don't get that feeling from you, but I do get the feeling that there are times when you will avoid things and not necessarily dig deeply into why you are making the avoidance. So, what you're encouraged to do at this time is kind of get in and know yourself a little bit better. But what I mean by that is it's allowing yourself to truly experience and see what your true reactions are going to be to things. With the Five of Feathers in reverse, it's again not allowing yourself to get pulled into something that doesn't make very much sense for you to get engaged in, to be bothering with. With the Knight of Feathers in reverse, it's about allowing yourself to see when you are reluctant to take action, what is causing that. So it's getting to know yourself a little bit better, but this is going to be part of what helps you to be better prepared for the energy around this situation. So for sure, this is one that I feel like we need to take into the extended to understand a little bit better what it is that you need to be doing. And at some point soon, we're going to have to do another reading to understand your lessons. But let's go as we go into the extended and think a little bit about, really what is sticking out about your person's feelings in the situation, given what they have done, and how we can see that they feel about that, what we can see drove that, and then let's also look into the nature of the relationship a little bit. Um, and so that's what we'll do in the extended. Thank you so much for being here with me. Again, if this is your story, you may want to subscribe and check out a couple of the previous videos leading up to this, because there may be more messages in there for you. So thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you again in another reading.